The governor of Borno State, Zulum, is out screaming, and look, he does not think that the military has done well so far in combating insecurity in the northeast, specifically his state, Borno State. He criticized the performance of the military, and the military actually replied him, giving some of the things that they have done while he is governor of the state. But again, he also stated that 3 local government areas that are under the control of insurgents. And it's quite devastating hearing these kinds of things, because I thought we've passed that stage, but it does look like there's a resurgence of insurgents in the Borno State. So, well, we'll speak to that, and maybe most likely speak to the historical context of that, and with a view to finding solutions to these issues. We have with us this morning retired Colonel Samaila Yombe Dabai, the former Deputy Governor of Kebbi State. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. Nice having me.
All right. Can you give us a measure of an overview of the history of insecurity, how these all started in the northeastern part of this country?
Well, the issue of insecurity in the Northeast is well known because of the length of time the Boko Haram has operated from there, right from the death of Yusuf to the escalation of the devastation in Borno State. I have the privilege of working in Borno State. There is no single local government I have not worked in my area business of area pest control. You know, Borno State has a large rice farm. As such, there are these quailabos that devastate the farm. So I was always given the contract to control these quailabos whenever they invade. So that gave me the opportunity to operate in nearly all the local governments. For almost 10 years since the advent of Boko Haram, this quailabos control has not been done. Luckily, last year, I was assigned to go and carry out pest control. That to 10 years ago, it was impossible. So I was privileged again to go around the local governments, and I saw the devastation, and of course, the efforts made by the previous governments and the present government. I must say that His Excellency Zulu had done a marvelous job in the area of rehabilitation, especially efforts to resettle those displaced people, built new houses, schools, and hospitals. But recently, it's saddening to hear that bandits have really, have started coming back. And I think this is because of the pressure given by Chad. So they took that advantage to come back again. But I believe with the military presence in that place, that tenure by Boko Haram in these 3 local governments will not be something that will take prominence, inshallah.
I mean, you have highlighted a few things as part of the reasons why we've continued to have insecurity in the Northeast. You spoke about the killing of Yusuf. You also spoke about escalation at some point. But I thought that there was some sort of negotiation that brought to a halt that particular incident because people were appeased, there were discussions that were made. Do you think that there is more to the death of Yusuf than what we are seeing?
No, I think the recruitment of so many youth during the Boko Haram war, so to speak, led to the state government inability to do certain things. That's my opinion. Because not all the ex-Boko Haram fighters were all rehabilitated or accepted into the fold. I had the privilege of meeting last year. I'm meeting some of these rehabilitated Boko Haram chaps. On my way from Borno to Dikwa, I met so many roadblocks. The army roadblocks, the police, the vigilante, and the Boko Haram roadblocks. The most interesting thing here is the way the Boko Haram roadblocks welcomed us. I was shocked to realize that they were so friendly and offered to and asked if they had any problem. If there is any problem, they are willing to help. I mean, it was amazing to listen to a Boko Haram behaving and discussing our safety like that. And they did not ask us to give them anything. All they are doing is voluntarily. Then I ventured to ask one of them, I said, what are you doing here? Because we passed the roadblocks before coming here. Then one of them said, look, there are some of us that are still mad in the head, that they may try to do something out of the way, but we know how to handle them. That's why we're here. So you see, there is really some areas of the agreement that was not met. I also see some of those rehabilitated. I discussed with one of them, and he explained that, look, it is just something to do. They were looking for, we are not interested in carrying guns again. But you see, there are so many, and I think the government have visited that area of resettlement and then infusing them in with the rest of the people.
Right. For you, Your Excellency, like, how much of international influence do you think Boko Haram have? I mean, we've heard several stories, especially in Sambisa, that Sambisa is so large, and not just so large, but it has some resources. And part of the reasons why fighting have refused to go away from that zone is because of that resource. Many persons are trying to chase away people from that area and create some sort of chaos so that people can move away completely from there. So do you think that there's an international influence, or it's just local and it's something that the federal government has not been able to deal with all these years?
No, sir, it's nothing local. We've heard from two very senior sources. First, Major Al-Mustafa, who was the ADC, or Chief Secretary to late General Abacha, explained before you that there is this mineral that is in abundance in Zambezi forest. They call Californium. And an ounce brings so much money that the international body had interest in there, and they were mining, and so they are the kind of people that supports the Boko Haram, apart from other sources. Now, sometimes, yes, the last 2 months, I listened to the Chief of Defense Staff, who informed the nation that definitely the existence of Boko Haram, and in fact, some of the bandits, cannot be an activity that is self-sustaining. There must be international interest and support for the existence of these monies. So yes, there is international support, definitely. I haven't heard that from the Chief of Defense Staff. Again, if we look at the kind of weaponry carried by these bandits is not something that can be obtained locally. Definitely Nigeria don't manufacture AK-47 or do we manufacture GPMGs. But you see, the 7.62 large or NATO ammunition, but this is in abundance with the bandits and Boko Haram. How do they get that? They get that through the support they get internationally.
So, when we have this kind of information, how difficult is it to talk to those people who we term as those who are the international body, because they are, for the life of me, they are not hidden. I mean, if you want to gain an information about sponsors of these people, if you want it, you will get it, except you are not looking for it, or except you don't want it. And at some point, in fact, in the last administration, we even had the government publish names of sponsors of Boko Haram. Why hasn't that even been explored? Why haven't we heard people even being tried for sponsoring insecurity in the Northeast? Some of these things that happen, you feel that maybe the government, isn't really serious about fighting this insecurity headlong.
Well, you just mentioned the government. Any issue such as security, as seriously as the subject is the responsibility of government. And to intervene internationally is also an issue for the government. It has political undertone. I'm not a specialist in political issues, I must tell you, but the responsibility is that of the government. And I have been following, in the past, I've been following the efforts made by various governments. And as much as they try, so also the problem becomes so difficult. I can't explain why we're having such difficulties in resolving this issue by liaising with the governments of those responsible for this support. But again, you see, that is a complex issue for me to delve into. And I leave that for government to listen. And I praise the efforts made so far by the present administration in making sure that, yes, the states are supported financially and morally. And I also appreciate very much the efforts made by the security agents of this country, because of the nature of the targets they are opposed with. So you see, the international issue, we leave it for political resolve.
It almost seems as if you have, lost confidence in the way and manner the government is going about it with what you have just said. It does look like this is going to continue unabated. Maybe it's going to stall for a bit and then continue. I'm sure that resources that they are mining over there in the Northeast hasn't gone away. So as long as that resource continues to stay there or continues to be there, I mean, this chaos continues. So one would wonder, really, it means we're here for the whole hog. The insurgency is not to go away anytime soon if the government is handicapped, because I'm wondering how in the world we would have this consistently year on, and the government, isn't being able to do anything. The state government has been crying about how insurgency have been ravaging local government. We're talking about 3 local governments overtaken by insurgency. I mean, when you hear this and you wonder, I mean, if they can take over 3, I mean, what can't they do? So it means that we've lost hope in trying to solve this matter.
No, I disagree with you. I'm not saying that I lost confidence in government's effort to solve this. There is no way in my discussion with you that suggests so. I've been involved in security issues since I was 16, from military school up to the level of commanding a brigade. I know the complex nature that fighting an insurgency is. Fighting an insurgency is not like fighting a conventional. I've explained that severally. It is a very, very difficult war to fight. And I can assure you that the various governments have tried and they are trying. So to say that I lost confidence, or anybody who say that he has lost confidence is wrong. The governments are trying them as much as they can. Can you imagine you standing and facing east, and somebody behind you come and give you deadly slap? You couldn't see him. Before you turn around to say, let me respond, the guy had disappeared. And he does the same to the next person. So you start to get him, you have to be trying various methods to say, how can this man slap me from the back and I cannot see him? Naturally, you don't have eyes in the back. And these people know you, they know where you are, they know how to come in and go out. So they are of more advantage. They have more advantage than you do. Look at what is happening in Lakunawa in our area of responsibility in Kebbi State. They come in from Niger. They ride all the way, come and attack defenseless people. People who are just sitting down or working or doing something, and they have been attacked without even any provocation. They are killed, their houses put ablaze, and they disappear as they came. Now, the Chief of Defense Staff had mentioned that, and the Chief of Army Staff in his speech, when he visited the Plateau incident, that they need the cooperation of the locals, the inhabitants. And that cooperation includes policing to a certain level, that is, creating a kind of awareness that they are able to provide some people that will look out and give out information immediately. That's one. Secondly, they have to deal with informants among themselves. So you see, those are two very serious issues, which I'm happy that His Excellency Dr. Nasser Idris Kaurangwandu, the governor of Kebbi State, is taking a positive step to bridge that gap between the security agents and the locals. So you see, there are efforts being made here and there. And in Borno, there is what they call Katu de Gora. Katu de Gora is a force that they nicknamed Katu de Gora to bridge that gap between security agents and the locals. So there are efforts here and there being made by various governments to see that I think we have to develop that method much more, because the security agents cannot be everywhere because of the escalating and widespread of these activities. So you see, the governments are doing the best they can, and I can't imagine any magic apart from just to bridge that gap between the target and the security agents.
How much of collaboration between us and our neighboring countries can have in terms of solving these issues? We know we are bordered, we have Chad, we have Benin Republic, we have those countries on the fringes of our nation. And can you just give an overview, in fact, of Borno border between us and the other country, and how much large it is, on what you think can be done in terms of manning those borders to really check the influx of these people who are not wanted in our country?
Yeah. I had the privilege of attending one such meeting in Katsina, where we had representatives from Chad, Niger, and Republic of Benin. And the discussion was to harmonize the amalgamation of forces around the border. They will allow us to travel a certain distance, I was going what distance, into Niger, for example, if we are pursuing. In fact, the Nigerians at that time insist that the enemy must be liquidated, not just to drive him and leave him alone. But what happened? The Sahel region, you know, the secession, the Sahel, the Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso from ECOWAS affected that arrangement. That of Chad and Borno, I think, is ongoing. But you see, Chad is also facing rebellious activities in their one region of their country. So they are widely spread and so thin on ground. But I think there is that arrangement between them. You see, but yet the border is porous in some areas, and the bandits know that, or the Boko Haram terrorists know that. They know the ground like the back of their hands. And to cover all that means a whole lot of boots on ground.
Right. I mean, you mentioned Lakurawa, which is imminent in the northwest.
Yes.
You also mentioned that they actually travel across the border. I'm wondering if you feel that they collaborate with locals, because at some point we heard that they were even in control of some areas in the northwest. Can you speak to us regarding that? Is it an international insurgency against us, or is it locally? Is there a collaboration locally?
Well, from the little I know about Lakurawas, they entered in with the name of Da'wah. That is the preaching of the Islamic religion. And when they came with guns. So we can't, and then killing people. And we can't say that is for any religious reason. They are more or less bandits. And so they are treated as such. The step the government is taking, especially the Kebbi state government, the executive governor has created a small team that will assist our security agents. Like if you recall, I mentioned that there's the escalation of this insecurity to the extent that our security agents are, deployed in such a wide area that they cannot cover everywhere. But those that are given the responsibility of covering that axis now will be assisted by the local vigilantes, so that they are able to create a kind of buffer for the security agents before they are launched. So you see, it's like international, so to speak, but they're not Nigerians, and they're not under any kind of government, so to speak, not that I know of. The collection of people who have no direction, who had lost out somewhere and they just can't live peacefully. They decide to come and be creating havoc. But very soon that is the manner at which the Kebbi State administration has planned. I can assure you, Lakurawas will have no seat. Again, here I will advise that Kebbi State should split their effort together along with Sokoto State, because these two states are the two states that the flowers have been devastated.
All right. On the general notes, for you, if you were to advise the federal government on how to put this to a halt completely, especially as it concerns insecurity in the northeast and the northwest, because again, I remember that we have had the multinational joint task force, and that was a collaboration that happened between Nigeria and other countries in the northeast, bordering even northwest too, and there was some operation that happened and things went quiet. But right now, to have had the governor Zulum say that 3 local governments are under insurgency, and then you still have issues in the northwest, it creates some sort of fear. It does look like maybe these efforts have been railroaded by some lackadaisical attitude. I mean, you can imagine a governor blaming the military of not being able to contain the insurgents in Borno State. That's unprecedented. You hardly hear that in this country. But for you, how would you advise the government to, move as to solving these issues?
Simple. Listen to the problems presented by the security agents, the military, the Air Force, the Army, the police, the SSS operating in that area. Listen to their logistic cries so that if you try and meet up with those logistic demands, there must be something that will lead the government to say that the military are unable to meet up their mission. It has, in my opinion, it has to be something to do with the logistic support. And that must have to be met if we are to make any meaningful difference in that place as we've been doing. Let us look at what really is the problem and solve it. Let us not shy. The military cannot just sit down and be accepting defeat by such ragtag force. So I also suggest government to listen to the security agents and try as much as possible to meet up their demand.
All right. Your Excellency, retired Colonel Suleiman Samaila Yombe Dabai, many thanks for your time. We truly appreciate your insights on the program.
Thank you.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.